Well, I've put it off long enough. It's finally time to talk about eFootball 2022. So, many of you know that I am a big PES head, have been since the days of ISS, and then it transitioned to Pro Evolution Soccer, right through the PS3 era when the game took a bit of a dip in quality, and sticking with it through to the PS4 era, and the final years of the PES name. Now, I was one of the people that was kind of not criticising the changes that have been made for eFootball. I was on board with the free-to-play model, and I still am. I think that sports games ultimately need to go down that route. It just needs a little bit of protection on the fans front. But after we got the online test thing back in the summer, it wasn't looking too good for our favourite football franchise moving forward. But I remained optimistic and tried to put a positive spin on things. I even said after playing the game on launch that it played okay, but having since played the game many times on my Twitch streams, I have to say that I am now officially concerned about the future of eFootball. So in this video, we're going to discuss the main things that have me concerned about the future of the franchise, what I want to see fixed going into the big update in November, and whether or not I'm going to be playing the game much longer. So when we got the online test in the summer, it was quite a difference. It was quite a stark difference from previous Pro Evolution Soccers. The control scheme had changed. Some of the manual things had been taken out, like the manual defending and things like that, and it was a stark difference to get used to. But once I played it for a little while, I did kind of get on board with the gameplay elements. Obviously, during the online test, the graphics were turned all the way down, the game looked horrific, and that had me really worried. Now that we got the full release, and I say full release because Konami are saying that it's the 0.9 version of the game, so technically this is still the demo, but the problem is they've released it as a demo, and it's supposed to make you want to play the game more. A demo's supposed to entice you into playing more. To me, the game doesn't feel ready for release. They should have held off releasing it. They are doing a small update, I think, at the end of October, but then the big full release update comes in November. And I feel like they maybe should have waited to showcase this game. Will it get fixed in time, or is this the way it's going to play for the rest of the year? The good thing that they do have in their favour is that with it being a free-to-play game, they can update the game regularly, they can bring in new things, they can make improvements, hopefully quickly. But it's whether or not people are going to stick around. If the first impression is bad of a game, people are really unlikely to keep coming back and checking out when you do updates. So you need to hit the ground running. Now, unfortunately, that hasn't been the case. I played the game first on my PC, and I said it played okay, but I was concerned about a few elements after that initial gameplay. There is a video on my channel if you want to check that out for my initial impressions. But having played the game on my PS4 since, played it a few times on my Twitch streams, the frame rate is the biggest issue currently in the game. I feel like I would enjoy the game more if it did run at a smooth frame rate, and it seems crazy in 2021 that we're discussing frame rate issues in a console game. Now, yes, console games typically don't always have 60 FPS. We're only just seeing now with the PS5 that we're getting a smooth 60 FPS on a lot of games. A lot of the PS4 games didn't run at 60 FPS. A lot of them stuck around sort of the 40 range, but anything above 30 is usually pretty playable. Now, I've got an inkling that eFootball 2022 currently isn't running above 30 frames per second. The game is so chuggy. It's not always that way. Sometimes it does run sort of okay, but then you'll blast the ball down the pitch and the game will just start chugging out, and it is horrendous. It really breaks the flow of your gameplay. Now, this is unacceptable to me. They've had 2 years to develop this game. They banged on about the next gen, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, and how powerful these machines were, and they've obviously not utilized that in developing this game. Now, yes, I am running on a PS4 version, so I am a generation back, but I have played it on my PC. Although my PC is not exactly a top-end spec, it's still more than decent enough to run games at 60 FPS. So there's obviously something wrong in the engine with the frame rate, and this is absolutely crucial for me to be fixed. This is something that they need to be fixing as soon as they can. There is the update coming in late October, I believe, but I think that's only going to be some small fixes. So maybe the November one is what we're going to have to be looking towards, hopefully, to see this frame rate issue improved. The other big thing that I've noticed since the launch of the game is some of the low resolutions on some of the textures. You get a lot of texture popping during the cutscenes leading into the games, and you know, that's annoying, but you can sort of pass that off. You can sort of move on from that and think, well, you know, some games do have texture poppings. I still think it's unacceptable, but that wouldn't be one that I would necessarily whinge on about. But if you look here at the advertising boards of the eFootball boards, it's very, very low resolution, and I don't really understand why, because the other advertising boards around the grounds tend to look okay, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But yeah, very low resolution assets in the game currently. And that brings me on to the other thing that I am most concerned about, is the graphics. The graphics are okay in parts. Some of the cutscenes leading into the stadium and the post-match interviews that you see, the character models look good and the graphics look good, but to me, the Fox engine graphics for the previous generation looked better at times. Some of the player models looked better. I'll be throwing up some comparisons hopefully on screen for you, just to show off what I mean. I think that the graphics do look okay in parts, but they don't look any better than last year's game, which is concerning considering how much the company spoke about next gen and the capabilities of next generation machines. There's even been people complaining of like the character models completely missing and just having like walking suits, like the Headless Horseman or something. Little things like that. It reminds me of when WWE 2K20 was launched and it was an absolute shambles. We've seen evidence of that in eFootball 2022 as well. Although I haven't actually run into too many of these bugs myself, but I have seen evidence of them on social media. So the big concern from a lot of the player base is that they've used the mobile game, because of course eFootball has run on Unreal Engine on mobile devices for some years now, and it's looking increasingly likely that the base game's sort of been built up from there, and that is a big concern for a lot of fans, that they think they're playing a mobile game that's been ported to consoles. And I have to say there is some legitimacy, I think, to those concerns and the statements made by a lot of the player base. The final thing I want to bring up in this video is the complete lack of communication from Konami during the launch of eFootball. It's almost like they knew there was going to be backlash on this release. They've told us about the modes that are coming to the game. They've told us that you'll have to buy Master League and things like that as separate DLC. But they literally have only told us that. They've not gone into further depth about the modes that are coming. My club is being renamed, I forget the name of it now, Creative Teams I think it is, and we've not really had a lot of information on how it's going to work. We've not seen an in-depth look at that. There's really not been much gameplay released. A lot of the footage used in promotional material is years old apparently. A lot of the Iniesta stuff apparently was filmed years ago. And it just leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth about how we're being treated. Most fans didn't like PES 2021, but you have to say, looking back on that game, it's better than the current eFootball 2022. And a lot of fans were hoping to see an improvement. The 2-year development cycle that the team had for this, with basically PES 2021 just being a season update and not having much work applied to it. Fans were really hopeful for a big update in the series going into the new generation, and unfortunately eFootball 2022 has been a disaster of a launch in my opinion. So will I be playing the game going forward? Well, I'm going to check out the updates when they drop, and hopefully we see an improvement. I do think that if they sort the frame rate issue out, I will at least be interested in playing the game. If it runs smoothly, if they can get it to run at a smooth FPS, then I probably will play the game more regularly than I am doing now. It seems weird that Pro Evolution Soccer is probably the game that I've played the most in my lifetime, and at the minute I think I've probably checked it out on stream 3 times, and I've played it maybe twice off stream. Before that, I would be playing Pro Evolution Soccer every single day of my life, so this is quite the transition. But yeah, when the updates come, we'll definitely be checking it out. We'll be seeing if there's improvements, and hopefully there will be. Hopefully they're listening to their fans. They keep banging on about they're listening to their community. The proof will be in the pudding, because there's been a lot of feedback online, on social media. Hopefully the message gets through. Hopefully we see a big improvement come the November update. But I want to know what you guys think of the eFootball 2022 launch. Are you as disappointed as I am? What things do you think they need to fix going forward for you to keep playing the game? Or are you happy with it? Do you think it's good? I've got a feeling not many people do. I have seen some people sort of defending it. I'm not sure how you can. I was very optimistic and very hopeful, as I've said, and I thought that it would be okay, but at the minute the game is pretty broken and not looking too good. Thanks guys for checking out this video on eFootball 2022. Make sure to subscribe to Welcome to Gaming to keep up with all your sports game releases, news and gameplay sessions, and I'll see you in the next one.